they are great partners and really super appreciative of our collaboration, so I do appreciate that. The second thing is tonight we're really excited to be able to provide an update to the board and to our community on our special education program. So I want to first of all thank Jennifer Smith and Megan Seachang for coming in to present tonight, and really appreciate the leadership of our Director of Special Ed, John Raymond, and the work that he does with his team and all of our amazing providers. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Dr. Kim, who will kick us off for the night.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jordan, Madam President, members of our Board of Trustees. Appreciate this time and opportunity this evening to really share and explore a talk around perhaps some of the most exceptional students in our entire school district. And it's our students with disabilities. They're remarkable in their achievements, they're remarkable in pursuit of their goals, and frankly, we're so proud of the work that's happening in and out of our schools. Equally proud of the work that's happening under the leadership of our Director of Special Education, Mr. John Raymond, who tonight is going to include some guest presenters alongside him, but share an overview of the work within special education. One of the things that he has as a resource for us, and John is a master and Jedi of acronyms, because in the world of special education, we live with an acronym. So as we explain things, a helpful resource you'll note and available to you are the various types of acronyms that are utilized within the world of special ed. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Special Education, Mr. John Raymond.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Board President McGuire, Dr. Jordan, Board of Trustees, I really want to thank you for this opportunity, allowing me to come up here and highlight the amazing things that are happening within our Department of Special Education. They say oftentimes that the merit of an individual can be judged based on the way in which they provide for the least of them. And in our situation as a school district, we can really judge the merit of our school district based on the way in which we provide for our most vulnerable population, our students with disabilities. And I have to say that putting this together, I'm very proud of the work that all of our service providers, both classified and certificated employees, provide for our students with disabilities here at Charter Oak. So tonight, I'm going to be going just kind of I'll be providing just a brief overview of the supports and all of the successes that we provide here in special education at Charter Oak Unified School District. So, as you're aware, with every division and every department within Charter Oak Unified School District, we align with the foundations of our pillars of success, and special education is no different. And within the Department of Special Education, I'd like to just share a couple examples with you of the amazing things that are happening within our department. So, for example, 79% of the students surveyed in a post-secondary survey with outcomes related to what they're doing after they graduate from college. 79% of our students are attending a four-year university or attending a community or technical education program and or are competitively employed within our community. And that just really goes to show the amazing things that our service providers and our teachers are doing to support our students for successful college and career readiness. In addition to that, I'd also like to just highlight the ability of our teachers and how we allow our teachers to lead from the front within the Department of Special Education. One example of this is Val Carey. Val Carey is in charge of workability. And she took this program on and has really done amazing things with her leadership in conjunction with our classified employees to ensure that all of our students are in our communities and receiving opportunities. For example, last year, 100% of students who actually qualified for a work permit and were eligible for the workability program were placed into a role within our community with our community business partners and worked last year through that grant. So amazing things are occurring, and these 5 pillars are really the area that help to guide this information here in special education. So as Dr. Kim mentioned, I do have a Jedi ability to speak IEP with BCBAs in SEL curriculum and all that good stuff, right? So we do have the acronym sheet, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I wanted to start with IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Act. And it's a really exciting time here as we approach 2025 because we're actually going to be celebrating our 25th year of IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Act. And I'm really looking forward to the amazing things that we've done, not only in the past 50 years, but also the next 50 years to come here, in special education. Key concepts that the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act provided us, which I'm sure you're all aware of. The Individuals with Disabilities Act actually provided for a legal framework in developing individualized education programs, or IEPs, for students with disabilities. And that way we are guaranteeing and delivering tailored interventions for students or supports for students to ensure that they're successful within an educational environment. And ultimately, this just aligns with our goal and our mission at Charter Oak in the Department of Special Education, that we provide equitable, inclusive environments to ensure that all students have the tools and supports that they need in order to be successful within the educational environment. And I'm proud to say that we do a great job here at Charter Oak Unified School District. So let's look at some data in relation to not only the state of California, but also the County Office of Education, and how it correlates with our special education data here at Charter Oak. So as you can see, we're proud of the amount of students who are actually being serviced here in a general education environment at Charter Oak University, or Charter Oak Unified School District. And it really does show that we have inclusive environments, and really all of our staff are all in with all of our students. So as you can see, almost 70% of our students are in a general education setting. Similarly, 31.12% of our students are in an SDC, which again, when you look at the metrics and compared to the state of California, we're doing really well on both of those. Our graduation rates are definitely higher. Our chronic absenteeism is lower. There is one area, though, that I do want to talk about in a little more detail, and that's the percent of students with disabilities that we qualify. So as you can see, we're close to almost 17% students with disabilities here at Charter Oak Unified School District, in comparison to the 13.1 or the 14.17 with the County Office of Ed. So one thing I do want to note is, while this is an area of focus, and while we do have declining enrollment in the state, one area that is actually growing in the state of California is special education. So we're up from 11% 2 years ago to 13.1 in the state of California. So what do we do here at Charter Oak in order to actually make sure that we're providing these services and we're decreasing that amount of students qualifying for special education? And as you're all aware of, it's the Charter Oak Promise, right? So the Charter Oak Promise guarantees 6 different ingredients to ensure that every student is successful when they matriculate into the educational environment. And sometimes some of those ingredients are missing. And so as a general education population, we have to identify what those ingredients are. And we use what's called a multi-tiered system of support. And a multi-tiered system of support is designed to provide either targeted interventions or intensive individual interventions to meet the needs of that particular general education student. I'd like to note, all outside of special education here, okay? So let's take an example, little Danny. Little Danny is having a difficult time with either academic or behavioral concerns. We are going to bump little Danny into a targeted group of interventions called a Tier 2 intervention. We're going to monitor little Danny's progress, and we're going to determine whether or not little Danny needs additional supports, and or if he can return back to that lower tier, which is that first best instruction from our general education teachers. In the event that little Danny does require additional interventions, we're going to go ahead and hold what's called a student success team or a student study team, another acronym in your binder there. And during that SST, we're going to bring together a group of professionals to determine what interventions we can utilize in a general education setting to really provide the individual intensive interventions that that student needs. And based on that, we're going to intervene for 6 to 8 weeks, come back together, meet, and we're going to intervene an additional period of time. And once that period of time is complete, we now know whether or not that intervention worked, right? And if it did, great. If it didn't, that's when we're going to start talking about providing an assessment plan to determine whether or not the student has a disability, and then we can go forward into special education. So big, huge aspect, not related to special education, but this is how we're targeting that 16.88% to ensure that we're reducing that number and getting it within line of the state of California. Oh. So just to kind of highlight some of these aspects, I've actually invited two individuals. So Miss Jen Smith, she is a teacher at Badillo Elementary, and she's going to come up and talk about some of the success stories that she's been seeing in her classroom.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President and board members. I'm Jennifer Smith, an educational specialist at Badillo Elementary School. I teach TK through 4th Specialized Academic Instruction, or SAI. The program that I run is, yes, another acronym, RSP, or Resource Specialist Program. This means I support students in English language arts and math through a combination of pull-out and push-in models. A trait of special education teachers here in Charter Oak is our ability to collaborate with our colleagues. During the Charter Oak University, my colleague, Lindsay Rivera, interventionist at Badillo, and I were able to collaborate on a presentation. The goal of our session was not only to share what we are doing at Badillo, but also to help foster further collaboration among teachers. We are seeing great success with the format that we are using at Badillo. The format that we've chosen is called WIT, yes, another acronym, or What I Need Time, within our 1st through 3rd grades. During this time, students are receiving what they need in order to progress in reading. The reading interventionist and I work together to separate all the students in those grade levels using the SIPs, or Systematic Instruction in Phonological Awareness, Phonics, and Sight Words Placement Test. During this time in those grade levels, all the students are leveled by where they score on the SIPS test, not by IEP or non-IEP students. We're all together during that time. This allows the students to remain active in what their class is doing and ensures that they're not missing the core curriculum. It has also helped with students' social and emotional well-being because they are not seen as being pulled out to go to that other class. They are just a part of WIN rotations. We have seen great success since implementing this program. When looking at the data from last year's iReady diagnostic, 61% of my students, or the students on my caseload, met their typical growth in reading, and 35% met their stretch goal. I believe in part due to this program and the students' hard work, I was able to exit one student last year from special education, as well as reduce a student's number of minutes due to the fact that they graduated out of the SIPS program or reached grade level for reading decoding. When looking towards the future of Badillo, we hope to start implementing more WIN time for math as well. We have started this year in our 1st and 2nd grade classrooms and are hoping to see the same success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Smith. So as you can see, we have a very inclusive environment here at Charter Oak Unified School District. And it wouldn't be complete if we didn't have some related service provider or a related service provider come up and represent the group of support staff that we have here at Charter Oak. Megan C. Chang is one of our speech language pathologists at Royal Oak Middle School, and she's going to be coming up and providing an update for related service providers.
Hi, good evening. As Mr. Raymond mentioned, I'm a speech language pathologist for our district. I work primarily at Royal Oak Middle School, and I also do alternative and augmentative communication evaluations for our district, or AAC, another acronym. This means I look at how we can use visuals and technology to help students' communication. As an SLP, I support students in all aspects of communication, so that includes teaching articulation and phonology, or how to make speech sounds and include them in words. I support students who stutter. I build language skills, and that's everything from expressing basic wants and needs to comprehending academic texts, and then a lot of things in between. And then we also work with social skills, how to interpret social language and how to use language to communicate and connect with others. I might be biased, probably am, but I think that I have the best job in the district because SLPs get to work individually or in small groups with students, and we get to work with them over years, and we get to watch as they as they become advocates for themselves, as they grow in confidence, as they improve in their ability to connect with others. It's a really cool job. This is my 6th year with the district, and I'm truly so proud to work for Charter Oak. I think the greatest strength of our district is our relationships, our ability to care for each other, both personally and professionally. I think that's very true of the SLP team that we have. We have 9 SLPs and currently 2 SLPAs or SLP assistants. I'm really privileged to work with this group of people because not only are they incredibly hardworking and dedicated, but they're also extremely collaborative and supportive of each other. We have a sense of shared responsibility for supporting our students. I think that's a very valuable asset and one of the reasons I love working at Charter Oak. At the same time, supporting our students is not something that we as SLPs can do alone. So aside from ongoing collaboration that happens at our school sites on a daily basis, there's a couple of ways that we as SLPs have been seeking to educate and empower our students and our stakeholders in the district that I want to highlight. This past summer, a couple of SLPs put together a Charter Oak University presentation educating teachers about speech and language developmental milestones and when to refer students for evaluation. We got some great feedback from teachers who attended, and we're hoping that this presentation helped clarify the referral process so that we can better identify and support the students that truly need it. We've also been holding biannual AAC training nights for parents, teachers, and staff, those who support our students who use augmentative and alternative communication devices, those AAC devices like you see here that I mentioned at the beginning. At these trainings, we discuss best practices for implementing AAC, we share resources, and we answer questions. These training nights have helped everyone be on the same page so that we're able to support student communication as a team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. C. Chang, and I have to say I have a bias towards speech language pathologists as well because my wife's one, so. All right, so as you can see, we have just so many services that are provided, in special education. And, as a result of that, I do want to take an opportunity to also look at the financial aspects of special education. So, first and foremost, I wanted to just briefly touch on maintenance of effort. So maintenance of effort is a federal requirement for special education funding that requires us to meet or exceed the previous year's budget. Meaning if we spend $100,000 in special education, the next year we have to spend $100,000 or more, and so forth and so on. And that's maintenance of effort. So that is actually an aspect of IDEA that we're required to fulfill. So it costs an average of $21,966.50 per student with disability that we service here in Charter Oak Unified School District. We receive an additional $802 in addition to the $14,000 that we receive in ADA in order to provide these services. So really, that leaves us with approximately a $7,000 discrepancy in regards to the amount that it costs us to educate a student with a disability in comparison to the actual money that we receive. And really what it comes down to is the federal government continuously is providing this promise of fulfilling their obligation to support us in special education, and they have yet to fulfill that promise to us. But nevertheless, we make it right here at Charter Oak. So let me give you an example. Last year, we spent close to $18 million in special education. Of that $18 million, $10.5 million actually came from the general fund and contributions to special education to ensure that our students with disabilities get what they deserve. And so what we really pride ourselves on is that we provide for our students with what they need regardless of the funding that we get. And so I would just encourage you as a board, in conjunction with CSBA, in conjunction with School Services of California, our Special Education Local Plan Area, our SELPA, all of these organizations are advocating to really right the ship in terms of the funding that we need for special education. Because things that we don't really often talk about is our staffing. Special education is a very difficult niche group of educators and related service providers. And it is difficult, and sometimes we do actually have to contract out in order to provide the necessary services for our students with disabilities, and that does come at a cost. Similarly, transportation, every student costs approximately $11,500 annually to transport within our district. We also have legal costs. On occasion, we do have a disagreement and or what I like to say, we're not seeing in terms of a win-win situation. And we do have to bring in legal counsel in order to remedy some of those, aspects and to recreate the relationship with the family. And so really this is just a breakdown of the financial costs and kind of how we can continue to support and advocate for proper funding for special education. I would be remiss if I didn't just thank all of the related service providers, our teachers, our therapists, our mental health and behavior therapists, and then also our non-public agencies and our community partners through the SELPA regional program. So as you can see, one of the reasons why special education costs so much is because of all of the different aspects that we have to provide for in special education. So not only do we have to provide specialized academic support through resource specialists and teachers, but we also have an array of therapies that we have to provide. Let me give you an example. How does occupational therapy work in a school district? Well, oftentimes occupational therapy will come in to support students with their fine motor skills, with their sensory processing skills, self-care, executive functioning, and those aspects. And we need our occupational therapists, and we value our occupational therapists to come in and provide those services. Similarly, with our educationally related mental health program, so we do have a small group of students who require extremely intensive mental health supports. And I'm proud that we do have a great and functioning educationally related mental health support program here at Charter Oak that does go into our schools and provide that support to our students with disabilities. I'd also like to just point out the SELPA regional programs. And so I put a little star there next to the autism programs because as you're all aware, we actually house 11 autism programs for our entire SELPA. And just, you know, under the leadership of Dr. Turner, the East San Gabriel Valley has done just a great job in terms of providing combined support through many different districts to ensure that our students receive exactly what they need at a more cost-effective way by pulling our resources together. And this actually, this actually does consist of 110 different classrooms in terms of our overall SELPA. And so we really couldn't do it without our special education local plan area. Another acronym for you. So in conclusion, again, as I started off, the merit of a district can really be judged by the way that we treat our students with disabilities. And I'm really hoping that tonight displayed the hard work and dedication of our COEA partners, of our CSEA partners, and all of the hard work that we all do on a regular basis to ensure that every student at Charter Oak receives an appropriate public education. And I have to say that I really do genuinely feel that the merit of Charter Oak Unified School District is great in the way that we treat our students with disabilities. So thank you so much for allowing me to come up here and highlight the different aspects of special education, and I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Mr. Peterson?
I got a few for you, sir. Can you kind of run through the process for our kids who meet the requirements for special education? It's the IEP, right? Then it goes to the 504, and you implement the MTSS. And then what happens during the process if the child's not progressing or there's problems within the classroom? Can you walk me through what's done?
Yeah, so oftentimes if there are, so we've already gone through the entire process, we've qualified the student for special education, and we're still running into problems. Is that the question I'm getting?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so really what it comes down to is we have to bring the team together, right? And we need to hold an IEP, and we need to determine if we have any sort of child find concerns, meaning do we have an area of disability that we are not aware of or a need that we're not aware of at this time? And if yes, and the team feels that we do potentially have an area that we need to focus in on, we'll present an assessment plan. And that assessment plan, once signed by the parents, gives us 60 days to actually conduct appropriate evaluations in those areas and determine whether or not a student does require additional services. And oftentimes, because our professionals are very trained, we do see, that the assessment plan does result in requiring additional services, and at that point in time through the IEP process, we would provide those services.
this might be an unfair question, but do you know the percentage of students that transfer out of special ed back into general ed?
I don't, but I can look into it for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just curious based on something that was said over here. And the last thing is, you were talking about the MOE. Yeah, I listen. On the, what happens if we have to spend $100,000 last year and we have less kids the next year? Do we still, are we still required to spend more, or is it per kid?
That's a great question. So we do have a system that we can actually reduce our maintenance of effort, but it's a specific criterion that has to be approved by the state of California and has exact areas that we can qualify for. So yeah, a reduction would qualify potentially, but again, that's something that we would work, with the fiscal office in regards to, and then also our SELPA as well. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I have a follow-up question about the maintenance of effort. So we're spending $7,000 more than what we're funded by the state. Is that $7,000 per student included, or are we permitted to try to reduce that cost?
So it's actually the overall cost that we spend in special
Okay.
education. So it's the $7,000 was just to show the deficit that the federal government is not providing us at this point in time. But yeah, so we did spend that money, and we had to take money out of our general contribution and put it into our special education fund in order to meet that maintenance of effort, yes.
Understand. Do we have any other questions? Ms. Flores?
I just wanted to reiterate Mr. Raymond's point that at CSBA, we're continually lobbying the federal government. There's Washington DC trips every year. We're asking for our fair share of the money to help support our students, our most vulnerable students. So, as a community, let's advocate, write letters, lobby your Congress members, because they don't give us the money that we need to run the district. So we're basically in a deficit because of the federal government. So just encourage you all to please lobby Congress.
Any other questions? Mr. Rose?
Yes. I think you mentioned TIPS, T-I-P-S, right?
SIPS, S-I-P-P-S.
Oh, I'm sorry, say it again?
It's SIPPS. It stands for Systematic. Now I'm gonna have to remember it. Systematic
Oh,
Instruction, Phonemic Awareness, Phonics, and Sight Words. Thank you.
Can you say that again for the interpreter? Phonemic,
Phonemic Awareness.
Phonemic. Thank you.
oh, okay. That's one of the assessments being used for special ed students.
Yeah, it's a whole program. So the program starts with the assessment, and it places them in either what's called learning letters, beginning, challenge, or there's one more, extension. And so it places them in there depending on how they score on the test. And then that's the program that we use in our groups. So it places them, and then we use that. And it's a very repetitive program. It starts with letter sounds. It does decoding, blending, and then reading fluency and sight words.
Well, I'm curious about that kind of assessment, which is part of the IAP, am I right?
No,
No,
it's
it's not,
just
separately.
yeah, it's totally separate. We do it with all of the students. So general education students as well as our special education students. And it just helps us to group them appropriately so that we're making sure that we meet the needs that they have.
All right.
Just to be clear, it's a reading intervention program.
Yes.
It's not a unique special ed assessment instrument.
Sorry, I'm talking later. I have another question. You also mentioned rotation. Can you elaborate more on that? What do you mean by rotation?
So it's called Win Time, or What I Need. And so, for example, with our first grade groups, we have 2 first grade classrooms at Padillo. So myself and the interventionist took all of the students and we placed them in SIPs. And then from 8:30 to 9, those students go into their group. So I have a group with myself, the interventionist has a group, both the general education teachers have a group, and then do we have 2 aides? We have 2 aides at that point that also have groups, and then we have a small group of students who graduated out or didn't qualify or didn't meet the needs of SIPs, so they're doing something independently. So whether that be some sort of higher level work or whatever the teacher has for them to do that's independent that they do.
Now, I saw that data on the number of students, charter were like 789.
789.
I wish we see a breakdown of student with disability. How many are monogamous severe, how many are deaf, how many are visually blind, how many, et cetera. So give us a better ballpark figure, who are the students? I'd like to see if you can have that information available for the board. We have an idea.
The eligibility criterion for the 789 students?
So I think the breakdown, how many.
Breakdown.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we can definitely get that to
We
you.
can provide that.
Yeah. Now, how many of the students are outside of the district receiving services? Like visually blind, we send the student over to Azusa, I believe.
Azusa, yes, correct.
Yeah. So do you have any other disability, a group of disability that is getting service outside of our district?
Yeah, you would like the number of students serviced outside of our district?
No, I mean, can you give us a sample so we have an idea? Well,
I'll give an example of how SELPA works. in
Oh,
other school
yeah,
districts.
absolutely. So let's say a student is deaf, hard of hearing. If a student is deaf, hard of hearing and requires, let's say, a total communication program, we would now utilize our SELPA in order to actually contract and send that student to a TC program over in Covina Valley Unified School District. Or, as you brought up, a visually impaired student, we would work collaboratively through our SELPA agreement to send that student over to Azusa. Likewise, students with autism from all of our different 16 LEAs will come to Charter Oak Unified School District if the primary eligibility is autism and they require those autism interventions.
that's interesting. Yeah. Now, we're talking about funding. Help me correct this. I believe the better law, idea in a provision, part of the provision stating that the federal government will be responsible for 40% of the budget. I think that's the number, 40% of the budget, I think. But only, I think they're supposed to give us 40%. I think only 11% were out throughout the United States. And that's when Ms. Floyd was saying, there's not enough funding. The Congress made that a mandate, but it would never carry out for many, many years. And many of the districts suffer from that shortage of funding to provide for our students, for students throughout the nation. So we really need some kind of rally or some kind of, proactive approach to get the Congress to fund total 40%. I think it was 40%. I'm not quite sure. Do you know the number?
I believe it's 20%.
No, we do receive 40% of the funding. We're short about 60%. Because we are contributing just about 60%.
Okay. No, we're short.
Yes.
They should be complete 100%.
Yes.
Give it to us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot, this slipped away in my mind. Oh, parents. I personally believe parents had a big role in this. I really do. Parents played a very important role because parents know the child. So it's essential that we welcome parents. Our school district is part of the family, and we will, we should be able to help them whatever they need to provide services for the child. I understand money is the big issue that come into play. Play with numbers. So unfortunately, we all had to put up with that. The funding was short, and we don't have that to hire this person. It's been very difficult, not for the child, for many districts, because they're quite expensive. They are. But I want to make sure that the parents are welcome. They feel welcome to be part of Charter Oak. and that we're not dismissing them because of the concern. So,
Yeah,
they're essential.
I'm glad that you brought that up because not only is that a requirement under IDEA, but it's also a value that we have in terms of gaining that parent participation and ensuring that the parent is an active participant in every IEP at Charter Oak Unified School District. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Huge aspect.
Last question. The magnification determination is part of it. Do we have a number on that, that a student be suspended from just because of the disability or outside of the disability?
How many students?
No,
with
I'm curious, do we have
how
any
many-
usage?
How many times we have to use a
Yeah.
manifestation determination?
Yeah, you have a number?
We can definitely get that. It all depends on at what point the student has been suspended, and we would do a manifestation determination if that student does hit 10 days of suspension to make a team decision on whether or not that is a manifestation of the student's disability, and if we have areas that we need to address through assessments and or supports in the IEP.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Aguilar?
I'll just speak loudly, it's okay. No, for me, actually, I thank you to my colleagues here for wonderful questions. It takes special educators to provide special education, so I want to provide my thanks for all the hard work that you guys do every day. So we make sure that all of our students are provided with everything that they need. As you mentioned, Ms. Raymond, from whatever their responsibilities, whatever their determination is, that they get that service. So thank you, appreciate it.
Any additional questions?
I want to make a comment.
Okay.
Thank you for coming out tonight with, I appreciate your expertise and appreciating that you will continue to serve the students. Thank you, both of you, Megan and Jennifer, to be part of the team.
Thank you so much for your presentation tonight. We appreciate you being here. Moving forward to, let's see. Our meeting is going to be structured a little different. I wanted to let you all know. We're having closed session after this meeting, so we will not adjourn. We will break to go to closed session. Our next meeting will be October 17th, 2024. And do we have any cards for our closed session agenda? No. Okay, so we're going to break for closed session at 7:10. We will reconvene after closed session.